Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Scarlet. We're counting you down to the closing bell, here to help take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast with our colleague Matt Miller. Welcome to our audiences across Bloomberg Television, Bloomberg Radio, Bloomberg Originals, and those folks streaming on YouTube. Matt, you're alone. Where's Carol? Did she take the day off?
Yeah, Carol, no, she went to Florida. You know, she always goes off and does these conferences. I am not so lucky. Although, you know, it's kind of nice. I can do whatever I want in here. I'm all by myself.
Oh, gosh.
I'm a little bit scared of what that entails then.
You do know you're in a big fishbowl there, Matt. Everyone can see you.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Everyone can see me.
And it's glass enclosed.
Yes, and I have a whole very talented and watchful team on the other side.
There you go. You can see the back of Matt's
but
head there. Matt,
listen,
are you keeping an eye on the markets?
Yeah, it seems like there's not much going on in terms of the markets, even though there's so much going on in terms of the news, right? I mean, we've got congressional hearings today. You've got the PGA taking money from Live Golf. You've got Gary Gensler and the SEC cracking down on crypto. So there's so much news, but with the exception of Coinbase shares, you don't see a lot of it reverberating in markets.
Right, and in fact, even with the modest move up, we're still just shy of that technical bull market in the S&P 500. Since October 12th, Romaine, the S&P 500 has now advanced 19.84%, so just shy of that 20% mark.
Yeah, barring some big surge here in the next 20 seconds. I don't think we're going to quite get there here. Of course, a lot of folks, a big debate going on out there. I thought an interesting column by John Authors a little bit earlier today, kind of about what this really means and whether this is sort of, a wolf in sheep's clothing, if you will, when it comes to the bull market. All right, we are getting the closing bells here, and we should point out that stocks, a lot of the indices were oscillating between gains and losses for a good portion of the day, but it looks like all of the headline indices are going to close in the green. The Dow Jones Industrial Average higher by about 10 points. The S&P 500 also higher by about 10 points, or about 0.2%. And as Scarlet just pointed out, that's going to be just shy of that 20% threshold off of that October low. The NASDAQ Composite higher by about 0.4%, but the outperformer in a big way was the Russell 2000, higher by about 49 points here on the day, 2.7% gain on the back of that cyclical trade, as well as a big bid that came back into regional banks.
All right, so in terms of the banks, we do see that financials are the biggest leader in terms of the S&P industry groups. Financials leading, consumer discretionary right behind them, and then real estate. Healthcare, consumer staples, and IT, the biggest losers. So you see investors selling what would be defensive stocks. Do IT stocks count as defensive now?
They have, yeah.
Are those safe haven stocks?
Microsoft is.
Yeah.
It has been. Yeah, the notable thing about today, we go back to breadth. On the NYSE, more than 5 stocks are higher for every one that is down, which sounds pretty broad, but it's only the broadest since Friday, when more than 10 stocks were higher for every one that is down. I'm going to take a look at some individual movers. And Matt, you had mentioned the merger between Live Golf and the PGA Tour. We see Topgolf Callaway as one of the big beneficiaries of this unexpected deal. Jefferies says that the combined company can take golf to new heights, the combined company between PGA and Live, and that would mean more capital to expand the reach of the sport, attract a broader fan base. So, of course, the maker of golf equipment would benefit. Intel also higher by more than 3.5%. The chip maker will sell part of its holdings in Mobileye, raising about $1.5 billion for its ambitious spending plans. Ian King of Bloomberg News points out, though, that in the old days, Intel would not have had to tap a source of capital. So this really shows their lack of cash flow, if anything. We do know that the smaller rival of Intel, AMD, is also higher. Coinbase down more than 12% as after the SEC sued it a day after suing Binance. And Novacure, ticker NVCR, falling the most ever, dropping 43% on the day after revealing clinical data that raises questions about how applicable its wearable therapy device would be in the current lung cancer market. So that stock ending the day at $47 even.
Let's take a quick look at what's going on in the yield space. I think we talk so much about how this has been a macro-driven market really for the past year, if you will. Not necessarily over the last couple of days. This is much more of that individual stock market, one driven by some of those idiosyncratic stories. And you see that reflected in some of the tepid moves that we saw in yield. The 2-year yield is slightly higher by about 4 to 5 basis points. But after that, pretty much no going here. And in fact, the trading range that we saw on treasuries across the curve was relatively tight, that we should say there was some repositioning in the swaps market around the next couple of Fed meetings. Of course, the next one that starts a week from today.
Yeah, so we're done with earnings. We're done with the debt ceiling. I guess we look forward to the FOMC meeting. And then in terms of economic news, I guess CPI, the day before that, is what's going to be the big market mover.
Right, and right now the consensus is for an increase of 0.4% month over month when you back out food and energy. But the headline number always is the year-over-year number, because for so long that was, above 5%, above 6%. It's seen slowing down to 4.1%, but even that is more than double what the Fed's target is of 2%.
Yeah, and it gets to this idea, though, too, of sort of what that debate is going to be on Tuesday and Wednesday when they meet here. I mean, we kind of know, at least from what they said publicly, Matt, that they're considering a pause, or at least several members certainly seem to be advocated for it. But what is the data? The data they say they're dependent on, which data are they going to look at? Because there's a batch of data out there that tells you this economy is a softening, and I could find you just as many data points that shows you an economy that's resilient.
Yeah, what did Mark Twain say? Lies, lies, and damned lies.
Yeah, and the other Mark Rowan over at Apollo, I thought he said it well today, the non-recession recession.
I like that, yeah. I don't mind a recession if nobody loses a job and we continue to grow, right?
Yeah.
But I think the CPI data is one that they'll definitely be paying attention to. It's not necessarily going to change their mind on the skip that they have already telegraphed, but we are now pricing in a hike for July.
Can I go back to something, and this is like a little off the macro. I want to go back to the Live Golf PGA Tour thing.
Yeah, my favorite story.
And I know, Scarlett, you follow this sport probably much more than I do. But it seems to me that this actually could be a good thing for the PGA, right? Because, I mean, Live, I know that, there's a lot, it was problematic in a lot of ways, but it did kind of make the game a little bit more exciting.
Did you watch it? A lot of people didn't watch it. You watched Live Golf?
Yes.
You
yes,
watched it on streaming, really?
Yes, Scarlett.
With the chain smokers there and everything?
I agree that it could make it more fun to watch for the average Joe or the average Romaine. But my question is, if the PGA has said all along, the people who go to Live are taking blood money, worried about the connections to 9/11, the way, Jamal Khashoggi was dismembered. How can they then take that money? I mean, is it just because it's a lot more blood money that they're happy to take it?
They're forming a separate company, Matt. No, I take your point that, it's a complete reversal of what their stance was before. And it's going to be a very delicate navigation for them. Nevertheless, I do take your point, Romaine, that this is going to be good overall for the PGA because they didn't have bottomless pockets to litigate against Live Golf, right? There was lawsuits, there was a counter lawsuit. The DOJ was looking into the PGA to see whether there was antitrust behavior in any way. So they had to...
Antitrust. By paying people more money, you get them to come, right?
No. Insofar as they would punish anyone who was playing for Live Golf and wouldn't allow them on the PGA Tour. So I don't know that we know the answers to any of that, whether that DOJ investigation goes away. But now they have resources to grow the game. And they didn't have the resources to continue fighting Live Golf.
All right. Well, that is fascinating, and I look forward to. What do you do? The Business of Sports on Bloomberg Radio?
Yeah,
Scarlett.
It's a podcast and a radio show.
I look forward to getting that, listening to that podcast. I know Damian Sassower is with you on that too, and you guys know a lot about this stuff. So I'll listen to it on the way home. That does it for our cross-platform coverage of the market close on Bloomberg Television, Bloomberg Radio, as well as YouTube. And a reminder that Bloomberg Business Week is now on Bloomberg Originals as well. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time and the same place.